Hello, and welcome to today's history lesson. Today, we are going to be talking about the Alamo and the war with Mexico. The Republic of Mexico had been an independent country for about 10 years. Now, you would think that Mexico would be thriving. After all, it was a fresh new republic, and it was free of Spain's rule. But they were struggling. One of its states was rebelling. We know of this state as Texas. As you can probably guess, Texas had many people dwelling in its land. The majority of these people were English-speaking. They were known as the Anglos. When Mexico still belonged to Spain, a banker, who was an American, made it possible for American settlers to live in the northern parts of Mexico, which was now Texas. The settlements were called empresarios. After Mexico became an independent country, they realized just how beneficial empresarios were. Many people would come and settle these rough, dry lands. They would also pay quite a bit of money to the Mexican government. What a great deal, right? America agreed that any U.S. citizen living in Mexico must become Mexican, obey all the Mexican laws, and become Catholic. After this had been going on for some time, the true Mexican citizens began to get irritated with the American settlers. Sure, they paid their taxes, but they absolutely refused to become Catholic or obey the Mexican laws. In the year of 1830, the country of Mexico declared that they would no longer allow Americans to live in their land. The American settlers did not like this law one bit. It reminded them of the bitterness they had experienced when the English bossed them around. A new Mexican president was elected. His name was Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. He was a general, and just 1 year after being elected, he decided that he wanted to be dictator of Mexico. He wanted to control everything and have everyone obey him. One of the first laws the president passed was that no one could have a gun unless the government approved. If someone had a gun and they did not have permission, they would be hung at the gallows. Now this law absolutely infuriated the Texans. Guns were vital to the Texans' way of life. They protected themselves from wild beasts and provided meals for their families with guns. Many Texans started talking about rebelling. They were not going to put up with this. Many people started collecting weapons and gathering in groups all over the entire state of Texas. A group of Texas men remembered that years earlier they had been given a cannon to protect themselves from the Native Americans. They had buried the cannon, but they decided it was time to take it back out of the ground. They cleaned it up and found that they had no cannonballs, so they used whatever hunks of metal they could find. The Mexican government demanded them to hand it over, but the Texans refused. Some Mexican men went to retrieve it. When they arrived, they found a whole bunch of armed men ready to fight. They turned back around. The Texans knew that this was only the beginning of the war. Their slogan was, "Free men of Texas, to arms, now's the day and now's the hour." The Texans formed a constitution, separating them from Mexico, and started gathering an army. Sam Houston was named the general. Santa Anna and the Mexican army headed toward the southern border of Texas. Sam Houston told the men down there to hold out as best as you can. We'll come as soon as we are able. The small group of Texans near San Antonio grew to 189 men. There were mighty men in the group. Jim Bowie was famous for a special knife he made. He also rode alligators in Louisiana and sailed with pirates. Davy Crockett, a famous Tennessee pioneer and frontiersman, came to help also. When they realized that Santa Anna's 4,000-man army was close, the Texans went into the Alamo, a Catholic mission. For 12 days they fought, and on the 13th day, In 1863, the Mexicans overran the fort and killed all the men. "Remember the Alamo" became the war cry of the Texans, and in less than a month after the Alamo, Sam Houston defeated Santa Anna. Who signed a treaty that said Texas was now independent from Mexico. Sam Houston realized that it was to the Texans' benefit to become a part of the United States. This would help in their continuing conflicts with Mexico, who didn't agree with the treaty that Santa Anna signed. Mexico felt that the United States had stolen their land, so the Mexican-American War began. It took 10 years of arguing with Texans and Americans to finally decide to make Texas a state. It ended in 1848 when Mexico agreed to a treaty if the U.S. paid them $15 million for California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and part of New Mexico. Later, the U.S. paid $10 million for the rest of New Mexico. That is how our borders were decided. Well, that's all for now. See you next time.